Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're talking about powering the good for more than 100 years with the United Way of the Mid-South. We're honored to be joined by our good friend, Dr. Kenneth Robinson. He is the president and CEO of United Way of the Mid-South. How are you doing?
Oh, Jeremy, I'm doing great and really appreciate this opportunity to talk about United Way at this season in our history.
Well, we do have a lot of good to talk about in terms of the legacy, driving the dream. We'll talk all about that as well. The amazing work you do to lift our community, work with our nonprofits, our corporations, and so many others here in the Mid-South and beyond. Let's start with a little bit of history, though. As I mentioned, 100 years. Give us some context and some background for United Way of the Mid-South.
Yeah, it's really amazing that in 1923, individuals came together here in Memphis, Tennessee, to say we can do better. We can actually begin to raise funds for multiple social service or charity organizations, as they were called at the time. And that collective approach at fundraising was really the genesis of what, through multiple name iterations, is now the United Way of the Mid-South. 100 years ago, amazing, 1923.
Talk about the model, because as you mentioned, it is collective philanthropy. It is working with corporations and individuals. It is connecting the resources, the assets to the nonprofit. So there's a lot of kind of beautiful pieces to this model. Talk about the model.
Oh, it really is a good question. And United Way generically is unique in the sense that we here in the Mid-South are the largest public purely charitable foundation. In other words, we take donations from individuals, thousands of individuals every year, but we also understand that a portal into individuals that really might want to be philanthropic with their own personal resources, make payroll deductions. A portal is through our companies and our corporate partners. We have over 120 local corporate partners that allow us access to their employees. And that really had been the sine qua non. It had been really the mother's milk of United Way, that we were able to talk about what we could do collectively throughout the community. And individuals didn't have to decide whether they were giving to one charity or the other. Today, however, individuals like to have that personal connection, but we maintained that access to many employees through our corporate partners. And the beautiful part about it is that many of our corporate partners themselves will match the contributions of their employees or will give us a corporate donation to support our work. What has evolved over time, Jeremy, and what's really exciting for us is that over the last 7 years, we have become more than that philanthropic intermediary. You give us your dollars. We have an extraordinary set of volunteers that really vet agencies that apply for grants from United Way of the Mid-South, and we make grants, millions of dollars of grants annually to those nonprofits that are doing excellent work that are high quality. But we've also decided that rather than just be transactional, that we get a request for funding and we make a grant to that organization. We thought that we've come to a point in our history, and certainly a point in the Mid-South, that we should be transformational in the lives of the individuals who are benefiting from the work of those extraordinary local service agencies. And that's been the transition over these last few years. We still do grant making. Our nonprofit partners love that, because we're putting dollars that we raise through our annual United Way campaigns into their coffers. They need it. It's not their sole source of funding, but they appreciate the grants. But now we have taken that historic relationship with multiple social service agencies, and we've woven them together. We've knitted them together. We've made a network, a system whereby if an individual walks into one agency that we happen to fund, or another agency, Jeremy, that we don't give a grant to at all, and if that individual has a need, we're now able to connect them to a network of services that are working for the first time ever in a united way to meet all the needs of the persons that walk through their doors.
I love it. And tie that into driving the dream, as I mentioned at the onset. And that's exactly when you talk about this network, this tapestry of woven, organizations together working for a greater purpose and cause with strategy. Talk about driving the dream.
Well, it is unfortunately the case, but here in the Mid-South, and particularly in Memphis and our surrounding communities, we have an extraordinarily high burden of poverty. Our mission at United Way is to improve the quality of life of Mid-Southerners by mobilizing and aligning resources. Well, mobilizing resources has been what we've historically done. We've made those grants. But for people living in poverty, we understand and we all can appreciate that their needs are multiple, that just addressing one issue or one need at the time is not going to really get them from where they are, here it is, to where they dream to be. And so we have built this system of services, of agencies that have a common agenda, and our agenda is always to help people do better, to help them advance, to help them have economic mobility. We understand that. And so with that common agenda, driving the dream is what we are now doing to align the resources that people give us. We are facilitating the dreams of the individuals that walk through the door of one agency. We are making it possible for them to not only get one high quality service, but to weave together seamlessly so that multiple services, sometimes provided by multiple agencies that are partners of driving the dream, multiple services provided in tandem, and sometimes in a coordinated care coordination, case management manner, those individuals are getting the totality. It's a holistic approach to addressing their multiple needs so that literally they are advancing. They tell us, we document it, we have the data to indicate that they are advancing, they are growing in their socioeconomic mobility. And that is transformational, Jeremy, in the life of people that have struggled for multiple generations, people that are having difficulty being active workers in our workforce. So driving the dream drives, it pushes, it facilitates. As the backbone of this network, United Way is creating an opportunity for people's lives to be transformed.
When you think about things like workforce development, economic development for an individual, when you're talking about generational poverty who needs help with financial literacy being able to read and write on that side too, transportation, job skills training, all of those can typically be in silos. And to your point, to be able to pull together all those pieces saying, hey, look, we're going to make it easy over here. We're going to share over here so that they know you're walking in, they know your name, they know what you need. We're going to get you there. Like, that coordination really is so important to remove those obstacles and remove those barriers, knock down those silos and make it easy so that people can achieve their dreams. And I think that's just kind of one story, if you will, to, kind of exemplify what you're talking about. But give us a success story, kind of paint the picture like that in terms of how driving the dream is really driving that opportunity for these individuals. And you don't have to name names, but kind of illustrate, if you will, on your end, what that looks like.
So absolutely. For a mother, for instance, who is looking for high quality childcare, you can imagine that mother probably needs more in her household than just high quality childcare. She may be also needing a job. She may need adult education. She may have health concerns for herself and for her children. She may indeed, as you mentioned, Jeremy, need to go back into adult education, improve her own literacy skills. She may need a mode of transportation. And so when you think about that, she might be living in substandard housing. The capacity to really help that mother do what she wants to do, which is to get excellent quality childcare for her children, but to have the wraparound services. How do we do that? She comes in and with her consent, we ask her, yes, we can get your child enrolled in childcare. But what else do you need? What which is a question that is never asked of individuals when agencies have been working in silos. When she begins to tell us that, with her consent, with her permission, we can input that into a shared database, a common database. Many siloed community-based agencies have never used data, don't use databases, but with her consent, we can record her needs, record her services, think about in our network of agencies, now over 128 agencies that have signed memoranda of understanding and data sharing agreements, we can determine which of those agencies might meet her overall needs, enroll her in that database, record that story, make those referrals electronically. We can track those referrals, ensure that those agencies are calling her back and connecting her to services. And we can document and tell your viewers and listeners that we're really making it happen for that mother. That mother, in turn, comes back and says, gee, driving the dream is the best thing since sliced bread. You managed to get me connected. I didn't have to run around town to do it. You facilitated that for me. You helped drive me to a point of greater economic self-sufficiency. And it works, Jeremy. And that is our brand promise for aligning resources of your listeners and your viewers, helping them understand that when they're giving to United Way, they're doing more than just allowing us to make a transactional grant. They are really investing in the transformation of people's lives, like that young mother looking for high quality childcare.
Absolutely. And it's a concierge approach. It's a personal approach.
Yes.
And I think when you talk about transformation, it starts with one person, right? And so
Yes.
I think that's the beauty of what you're talking about, is pouring into one so that you create this ripple effect that really does create to transformation individually, but transformation for our community as a whole. And so I think it's very powerful.
Gosh, because if the young lady isn't getting that job, if she can't get to her shift work, if she doesn't have the then it's really impacting our employers. It's impacting our employers' capacity to retain employees that they've just hired. And for her, it is absolutely a matter of saying, I'm getting more than I knew that I was going to receive, but thank God for driving the dream and United Way of the Mid-South that serves as the backbone agency. One person at a time. Unfortunately, where 33% of our children are still living in poverty, 23% of people in Memphis, when there are probably 150,000 individuals that need multiple services, thank goodness we are helping agencies work in a united way for that one person and 150,000 of her neighbors like her.
Absolutely. I think that's another piece of this that's really cool, is the Memphis success story of not only what you're doing locally, but how other communities around our nation are saying, hey, I love what you're doing. Could you help us? Could you serve as the model for our community? Talk about how driving the dream is literally kind of inspiring other cities.
Oh, it absolutely is, Jeremy. In fact, over the next couple of years, we're markedly expanding Driving the Dream, having served 6,000 families in care coordination, having stood up a call center during the pandemic that has taken 10,000 calls from individuals who probably had never needed health and social services before. Having served those 16,000 families over the last 6 years, we're going to serve another nearly 6,000 families over the next 2 years, because our State Department of Human Services has come to understand this is the way to really increase capacity in families and decrease their dependency on public supports. This is an idea which is, of course, common all throughout the United States. And even though Driving the Dream at the United Way of the Mid-South is quite unique, quite unduplicated, the concept of getting agencies to work together collectively, collaboratively, to build care coordination, community-based care coordination, is one that I think is quite replicable. And we've been funded in a couple of instances to try to help other United Ways build systems such as that. And we just believe that duplication, replication is the sincerest form of flattery and is an indication of our success. And we are really grateful for those who are tuning into City Current because they're understanding the value of doing more than what traditionally has been done. And oh my God, everybody from our corporate partners to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, the mother Federal Reserve Bank for our local bank, they all understand that unless you're providing wraparound services, unless there are multiple touch points in the lives of those individuals, they are not going to advance. They will be stuck. That's my favorite word. People are stuck where they are. They get served, but they don't advance. And so this market expansion of our capacity to do care coordination, funded now by the Tennessee Department of Human Services, acknowledges that they understand that if they really have the intent, and that is the desire of federal funding, temporary assistance to needy families, the desire to get people on a positive, advancing socioeconomic path, you've got to do more. And for the very first time, we have built a system. There is nothing quite like it across the nation, but certainly we're getting the requests to talk about what we're doing in Little Memphis. And hopefully other communities, all of which are dealing with issues of poverty and families that are stuck, will benefit from what we're doing.
So let's tie that in, because you do have some really good news to share that's related to this with a big grant. And so talk about this exciting news and this big grant.
The grant is going to be a significant one. It literally is $18.2 million over the next 2 years for us to do that expansion. We will grow from 3 care coordination agencies that do major care coordination to 12, and we will markedly be able to rapidly increase the number of families that we're serving. And so this is good news for Memphis. And we're grateful to the Department of Human Services for understanding this is good news for Tennessee. The majority, a large preponderance of individuals across the state that need TennCare, that need supplemental nutritional assistance, that are really looking for other supports from state government are here in Memphis and Tennessee. So we like to think that this partnership with the state of Tennessee, the Department of Human Services, is excellent. We have had a small partnership in the past, but because we have the data to demonstrate that self-reported results of individuals who have been in Driving the Dream suggest that they are better than they were. They've moved from a point of crisis or vulnerability towards empowerment and economic stability. We are delighted that we have a new partnership and a growing and expanded partnership with Department of Human Services. Driving the Dream is continuing to drive the dreams of thousands across the Mid-South.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, we've talked about payroll deductions, individuals, corporations getting involved. Go ahead and tie that into how else can the community help and support your efforts?
One, we will always want to say, because we are a public charitable foundation, because we are a nonprofit, please give to United Way of the Mid-South. I hope I've given you some sense of the magnitude, the profundity, the impact of what your donations to United Way of the Mid-South now will have on the Mid-South. This is a great year to be a donor. Yes, if you are in a corporation that allows us to access you as an employee, yes, please give through the United Way campaign. But you can also give through our website, uwmidsouth.org, uwmidsouth, no punctuation.org. And on that website, not only is there a big give button, but you can also click on the drop down that says get involved. You can become a volunteer. It's an extraordinary time in our 100th anniversary to become a volunteer. Volunteer United is our data digital platform. They'll take your information or record your interest. We'll send you emails about opportunities to volunteer. Agencies throughout Memphis and the Mid-South are telling you you can work for us, and being engaged can allow you to have a personal involvement. It can allow you to get your hands dirty, get deeply involved. You can even sit at your desk and fill in a blue tote bag, which you will see about if you sign on uwmidsouth.org, click get involved, and get those drop-down menus click on Volunteer United and find all the ways that you can get engaged and engage those in your sphere of influence. Please do it. It's our 100th year. What better year it is to affirm what the United Way of the Mid-South is, the impact that we're having on thousands of your neighbors, and to get involved personally.
Absolutely. You make it easy, you make it fun, and let's definitely get everyone involved. So the website again, uwmidsouth.org. Dr. Kenneth Robinson, thank you for all you and your amazing team do with the United Way of the Mid-South. Greatly appreciate you and your friendship and partnership. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeremy. Take care of yourself.